Hello and welcome to Mess of Comedy Classics. Today we will be reading The Time Circle Capsule, which is essentially the 2014 18-year-old version of the Cold Winter stories, but really focuses on the end of Anlia rather than the beginning. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen and let's this is kind of a version that's more fleshed out, but I'll get to that later. I am Oolong, creator of the universe. I am not a god, I am merely creating a copy of his intricate works. The universe is dying, entropy is taken over, and soon the universe will only be hot nothing. We need something new to escape to. We destroyed the universe when we invented the infinity sphere. We saw them out into the galaxy, but it began when we learned how to make them. The infinity sphere sucks all matter, converts it into pure energy, and then spits it out. It is made of a series of wormholes in a loop, a hypersphere, if you will. Let's see, where was I? Matter trying to escape in any direction is sucked back in on the other side, as matter flows in circles, in a hypersphere, just like the universe. We would put the wormholes in motion. They would travel inward from the circle, compressing the circles, the matter that may flow around in an infinitesimal speck. The wormholes would then cross over each other, allowing the circle, the matter, and the energy to expand. The wormholes would then come across each other again as they orbited in opposite directions around a circle in higher dimension, and the cycle would continue. This is called a posball. We would make a small wormhole into the posball. As the posball expanded, it would, I don't know if into works there. As the posball expanded, it would suck in matter. As it contracted, it would spit out energy to power our machines. This energy could be utilized as heat, light, or matter itself in our technology. Space would be drawn in and out as well, making it possible faster than light travel. It would seem to have matter and energy to spare, so we named it the infinity sphere. As our spheres began to devour more and more of the universe became more and more a dark and empty place. The matter in the spheres spit out quickly dissipated in entropy. Every day, there is less matter and less accessible energy. The solution was staring us in the face the whole time. What we needed was to create a smaller universe out of the matter we already have, then shrink ourselves to be able to fit in this universe. It may be less energy, but to smaller beings, the energy of 1 gram of our universe would be unfathomable. It would be more than enough to create the whole world around us. This seemed like a bit of fantasy until Dimension R was discovered. In Dimension R, everything in the universe is connected to one single point. Large things can project smaller things going down in Dimension R, and small things can project larger things going up, but with much less energy. When we physically move things down Dimension R, the amount of energy is constant, but the size on our individual particles shrinks. This allows for all the particles of our universe to exist from what we see as 7 grams. Likewise, if we project ourselves down Dimension R, we become smaller as well as the amount of energy we contain. The moved energy is nearly infinite compared to the projected energy of the projected forms. The projection must be done at one Planck's time in both universes. The solution is to put yourself in a pause ball as well. That constricts in tunes with that of the universe you projected yourself into. In the projected universe, time will otherwise be faster than the universe we live in now. The hardest thing is finding the initial shape of the piece of matter to create our universe. The right one. I have worked long and hard, and I think I have the solution. But just to be sure, I have created the time circle capsule. The time circle capsule is a time capsule like any other, but somewhat different. The capsule contains a 3D printer, a computer drive, and whatever connector connects to the computers in the times it passes through. Its path is pre-programmed to follow history and come back to me. Each person who owns it has his or her life story written inside of it. They are assigned to write their own life story exactly as it happens without reading the one they already wrote in the projected universe. It is checked by a copy of my brain whether the life stories match. The capsule will be carried by my good friends the Datans Celion on their ship as they travel to the new universe. When they find Earth, they will drop it secretly on the surface. The capsule will then meet Sean Schoen, the founder of Anlia. I think I wrote the founder of Anlia. All the historical events until the Great Spread will be cataloged. After that, it will be copied and make its way over every human in every part of the universe with my message, the message of hope. I, in this copy universe, will receive the message and know that my work is done. Book 2, Sean Schoen, Chapter 1, Intro. My name is Sean Schoen. I was born in 2035 in Lexington, North Carolina. I think that's, I think I changed that. I go to Blux in elementary in Lexington. I am 7 years old. In 2035 was the aftermath of World War III. The war was fought over the remaining reserve of oil in Iran. The main antagonist was the US. The USA was us, the USA. Iran wanted to sell the oil at a high price to take the Middle East out of the Islamic Dark Age, which was almost 1,000 years after the Christian Dark Age in Europe. America wanted it cheap to maintain its own economy. The Earth was in turmoil as nuclear war threatened to wipe out all of humanity. Then the aliens came. The aliens had a peace council to make their inter-country judgments that would otherwise be settled in war. It was not like the UN conventions that merely creates terms for war. They helped set up a democratic peace council on Earth, as well as providing the ultimate source of energy, the Master Infinity Sphere. The Master Infinity Sphere is a wormhole through which other infinity spheres enter our world. It is said to be taking a picture and duplicating itself every time. An infinity sphere is a sphere through which unfathomable energy enters our universe. I saw the aliens before they left in the pictures Mom keeps in her record room. She says that they gave some. Oh, I don't have that image. They said that Mom keeps in her record room. She says that they gave something to her. They told her about me. They said that I would be a great man and a terrible man. They were so advanced. I want to see the human race just as they are someday. I want to invent. That's how I will be great. Book 2, Sean Schoen, Chapter 2, The Time Circle Capsule. Recently, I have been helping Mom organize her records room. I was picking up boxes and looking through one by one. One box contained some strange things. I saw a squishy ball with many facets, a small hole in one end. There was also a block of plastic. It looked almost metal. almost like metal, and this thumb drive. I rushed to the playroom and plugged the drive into the computer. The label on top of the screen said Beta Decay Drive 24.0. It must be getting signals when a neutron decays into an electron and a proton. I think it picks up the electron with some sort of grid. I guess it could induce beta decay by firing neutrinos, but that's just speculation off of a YouTube video I watched. The drive I'd already watched that YouTube video. The drive contained many files. A lot of them were STDST and BM files. I forget, brain map, I guess. STDST is Stardust, and BM is brain map, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what either of those are, but they have funny names. I searched through all of them trying to find hints of alien technology, but they all just displayed the message, "This computer cannot read this type of file yet." I found a file called Biography Map. It asked me who I was and what year I was. I put Sean Schoen 2042. I thought it might have some information on my future, but it asked me to write an introduction to yourself and write 3 stories about your childhood. I'm holding on to it until I'm 18 so I can write these stories. Chapter 3, Pods. The Pods. I invent to solve problems I have in my life. Recently I have been inventing like crazy. Society is deeply flawed. I'm starting from the top. When I have meltdowns, all I want to do is leave the building. Nothing else can calm me down, despite what everyone else just assumes I can do. I often find that I'm not allowed to leave. Whether I'm at school, at camp, at after school, at home, adults are always fighting to keep me in their institutions. Their little institutions. I mean, physically fighting. That won't do for my world. I'm making my own rule right now. No man, woman, or child will be trapped in any institution against their will for any period of time. I wasn't very gender progressive. I think I just wasn't thinking. Normally I remember I usually typed they when I was dealing with a ambiguous person. But I was told that saying man or woman or he or she would be correct, and like I was told that it was grammatically incorrect to use they, and I think I just went with that. Some rebellion. I want to for my world. I'm making my own rule right now. No man, woman, or child may be trapped in any institution. And this is also coming from like a weird place because I must have retconned this later to say that Oolong was non-binary. Because that's what in the later version of this it was. Oolong was non-binary. But Oolong was non-binary because Oolong was an Oolong, and they had no need for gender because they were Datans Oolong. They reproduced by copying brains on computers. No man, woman, or child may be trapped in any institution against their will for any period of time. This changes everything. Instead of jails, we need banishment. This merits that there should be universal record of banishment, and that based on this record, institutions should be able to deny people entry. Instead of voting, we should just choose the institutions that we join. This way, the minority of voters will never be disenfranchised, because every state you want, you could join, while the voter who votes differently finds a state that fits their vote. In order for this to happen, there must be new states all the time. For this to happen, everyone must have the ability to create their own state, institution, or wherever they don't like or wherever they don't like the options they're given. Their own state / institution, wherever they don't like the options they're given. Okay. It's hard to read. I think I should switch to the Anlia file. This requires a special type of home that you can take with you when you move to a different state. Each state must expand infinitely, depending on the number of houses that join. The state must be made entirely of houses, but each house must be able to leave the state at any time. It requires a new design of seastead. I have designed this house twice in 2 different ways. The first way was a triangle-shaped boat that had a road over top. When it docks, it produces a new piece of dock. Triangle-shaped boat that had a road on top. When it docks, it produces a new piece of dock / road by filter feeding from the ocean and 3D printing organic cement. When it leaves this infrastructure behind. It makes itself compact by creating a virtual environment inside. It uses the most efficient solar panels to provide energy, so it can 3D print food from organic molecules in the water. The triangular boats are organized into squares, and the squares, which are organized into snowflake pattern. I should have made that sentence longer because of the way that I used grammar. Each of the 4 negative spaces in the snowflake has a connection to the outside ocean, and each of the boats has a connection to one of the 4. The second design allows for boats of any size by turning the boats into bubbles made of nanobots. The bubbles can form together into larger bubbles, and these bubbles, no matter what size, will fit into a hexagonal foam pattern. Look at your bubbles in the bathtub. They are not all the same size. When a bubble leaves, it can rise above other bubbles and work off of them magnetically to move out in the state when the bubbles below warp to fill the space. The nanobots can also assemble themselves into virtual objects and build food atomically. While the bubble acts, okay, that's a little too fast. The bubble nanobots organize themselves into virtual objects. But when they build food atomically, that's them doing something different. That's them putting atoms together to make food. You can't eat the nanobots. They just build up the atoms inside there. Inside the KAP, the kaleidoscopic atomic printer. And work off of them magnetically to move out of, okay. 2-dimensional treadmill. Build food atomically. While the bubbles act as 2-dimensional treadmill, this makes the bubble design even more compact than the triangle boats. So compact that in order to take in solar energy, it has to print solar panels outside of the city. Elements of this imaginary culture include universal language, a suit that enforces laws, and quirky things made up. For example, a kukl is someone who is prejudiced. I got in trouble for, well, I got Jack's Films really mad at me for that and other things. I said kook, use my own slang. Kook, K-U-K, being short for Ku Klux Klaner, and meaning somebody who's prejudiced. And he just read it as cuck, like I was misspelling cuck. That's probably going to get demonetized. Might have to put this as 18 plus, just because I said the word cuck. I'm not going to explain what it means. And the funny thing is, by the way that he pronounced it, he said, I knew exactly how to spell it. He said, I'm writing kook, not cuck. He said, I'm writing cup, not cup. And redacted chapter. Chapter 5, Death Wish. I lost the capsule until today. Lived out my wildest dreams creating my world. It was a heck of a time building atomic printers, personal infrastructure module boats, computers, and artificial foods. I contracted Alzheimer's just recently. I've been replacing my brain cells with nanobots as they die. The nanobots are only connected to the cells by stimulating them magnetically. As soon as a muscle cell or a muscular nerve dies, I won't be able to write this anymore. I made a nice little interface where the new electronic me can. I made a nice little interface the new electronic me can connect to. Okay, yeah. Start ending a sentence with a preposition. I just finished in time. Goodbye, world. Thanks for the life. But just in case there's no life beyond death, I will leave behind a trace of my mind. By the time you read this, I will be dead. Oh long, when you read this, I will be dead twice. I dare not continue, just in case I am cut off by my finger ceasing to be able to type. That was an F. Book 3, Dat and Athena. The focus of this book. I think I keep this part of the book, actually. I think most of this book is stuff that I might want to scrap when I compiled this. I might want to scrap looking over it, but when I compiled this compilation of all the books that I wrote, I think these will fit together. I think the end of this will probably fit together with all the rest. In the year 2039, Sean Schoen was a Det and Athena. Chapter 1, Detons and the Pims. In the year 2039, Sean Schoen was alone in the storage space of his 20th century home. He saw it at the Time Circle capsule. It was a cardboard box containing a brain map, a kaleidoscopic atomic printer, a beta-decay computer drive. In these 3 items were all the secrets of the future, up to the end of the universe. He plugged the adapter into his primitive iMac. All the files were formats his computer could not understand. He saw them on the screen in their icon form: cap, stdst, seanschoen.bm, pim.stdst, and olong.bm. He didn't know what he saw at first. BM. You don't think I was blind to that and I just did that on my own. No, this is just some stupidity. This is just a little bit of immaturity sprinkled in. I think I did that on purpose. Also STD. I'm kicking something. I'm not making noise. He didn't know what he saw at first, but he grew into it. When he was 29, he invented the Stardust printer. When he was 60, he invented the bubble-shaped pods of the PIM states, a shining civilization from the sea. Each state was a combination of several personal infrastructure modules, personal modules of infrastructure. There was one rule: no one could keep anyone in a state against their will. It was an FU to tyrants and slaveholders. If anyone disagreed, they would sail away in their PIM and leave, sometime to start their own state and join another. The PIM states were a culture based on individuality, so that there were always a multitude of states to choose from. Sean died of Parkinson's disease in 2110, but not before inventing the brain map. It cataloged his every brain cell and synapse into an artificial brain known as seanschoen.bm. In 2140, PIM had gotten large. There was no way its 4 quarts could keep up with the demand. Oh, PIM is like the Anlian quartz. Like Anlia in general. Its 4 quarts could keep up with the demands for the 60,000 people all starting new states. I think that there has to be 300,000 people to produce all of the Stardust files of food in one to produce a single Stardust file of a food in 1 year, but I guess I had to do that like slow growth thing. All starting new states. The Peace Council knew they would need a way for everyone could elect the 400 courts into office. They turned to brain mapping. There were easily 3 times as many brains on Soul Cloud as there were in the field. The brains were culminated into the first Datin. Datin Risk had all the greatest parts of all the greatest minds, and all the common sense of the average man. They duplicated his brain to 1,000 variations. His daughter, Pure Risk, left the Pimp States, never to be seen again. His son, Leon, vanished into the shadows of time. But Datins were a success. They filled every chord in the Pims. Each Datin, once he had served his term in office, was printed into a human body. Though they were all the same when they were born, their experiences made them people, and they each chose their name based on what they learned. The year was 2332. PIMS has become separated from the land-dwelling states. The economy of information banished from the economy of mass. Our Peace Council hid us from the world. Only those who seek to find us. Only those to seek to find us. Only those who seek us will find us. They will receive their PIM floating on the sea, a softball-sized object. When they touch it, it will grow to the size of a car, and as they step inside, it will wrap around their body, creating a second skin to keep them out of trouble, as they were ever to step outside the law of the state. If they were ever to step outside the law of the state, their foot will be pulled back the way it came. Today, the council worries. That makes it seem like they're kept from leaving. What they're kept from doing is kicking someone. Kicking someone in a violent way. But figuratively, it's the law of the state. As well as punching and cursing in some sects and slurring and raping. Yeah. As they step inside, it will wrap around their body, creating second skin to keep them out of trouble. If they ever were to step outside of the law of the state, their foot will be pulled back to the way it came. Today, the council worries. May we create a militia so that we do not have to live in fear, so that we may show our face again. We have been multiplying only by our Datins, and our Datins are trading thoughts, sometimes horrible ones. We have been feeding nanobots to the land for years. There lies the answers. We will read the minds of those we wish to attack us, those who dare wish to attack us, and we shall give our regards to them. If they do not realize the error of their errors, they will be struck down by their parietal lobe. A mighty pulse of electricity will erase all their mind. All their mind. Weird structure. We will need a team of Datins with minds copied from the time of the war. They will have the minds of great strategy and great patience, of great wisdom, but of great understanding. I am one of those Datins, a Datin Athena. Chapter 3, Heshawesh. As I am waiting for my duty in the early stages of this project, I have taken a liking to video games. There is a game people play in PIMS called Heshawesh. A goal of the game is to run across the vast virtual countryside, but if we don't watch out, we will lose every single limb we have. When someone is about to be tripped, the robotic referee yells, Heshawesh. It's an onomatopoeia for whispering. It's all fake, of course. While a human's avatar is in pieces, his real pieces are all together in a suit of nanobots we call Latin satin. I forgot, I included all the stuff about the song, but I didn't put the song. It goes, oh, Dutton, Dutton, go to Dutton, Gonna make you doodin' your virtue a Latin satin. Gonna dry you up into potato au gratin, which isn't ground up. Oh dottin dottin, oh dottin dottin. And I think it repeats. It's all okay. So we call Latin satin. Me, however, I never was. I simply exist as a brain up in a satellite somewhere, and here in the game. There is no pain, but it's confusing to lose your arm when you don't know what it feels like to have it on. The other players always come together against me. They think because I'm a Datin, I'm average. They want to be above average, so they give each other an advantage. It makes me mad, but I know I'm above average tactically. My score is always nil. Maybe because I know that I'm above average tactically, but my score is always nil. Oh, it makes me mad because I know that I'm above average tactically, but my score is always nil. Maybe Sean Schoen's rule is failing. We don't let people leave states anymore. Just the leave the states anymore. Just the individual states that what we don't let people leave the states anymore. Just the individual states. They don't let people leave Anlia anymore. Just the individual sex. Okay. What use is that when these average chasers will follow me to any corner of the internet? You know, what they are is a bunch of clanners. Maybe I may be made of copper and silicon, but I am not a robot. I am a learning computer, and I have wants, feelings, if you will. America and the mock. It's time for me to go to work. I can see the world through the eyes of any that I like. The US of A is looking different than I remember from Sean's mind. It looks like the Pims. People are in bubbles, just like home. The bubbles are hovering on speedy tracks. Some climb carbon fiber towers into space. All around is forest. I've never experienced forest before. Maybe that should be my name. I wonder where this is. It's hell, I hear in my middle brain. I didn't think that. It's I. Ayo. Ayo. Hey. I'm brickish. Brickish. Okay, brickish. It is I. Ayo. Hello. Hello. Hey, I'm brickish. Brickish. What's that? Well, I suppose in America they call it British. See a man getting an injection of insulin as he rides to a marble building. Maybe that's new. That's old, says a voice in my head. Actually, you're a voice in my head. Are you a god? I scrambled for this man's god. What I found was very interesting. Ao is a spiritual term in the mystical order of the crystal hypersphere. This means that he can telepathically communicate with more people than most of his religion. The monks believe that the universe is a conscious web of crystal. The crystal imagined us as, and we formed from the matter trapped within. Likewise, the monks imagined Matrixus, which was stretched out as a network through the crystal, connecting all minds. The monks used an organized network of brain from mystical order of the crystal hypersphere. Monks. I think that means pigs in some language. It also sounds like mess of comedy, mock. The monks use an organized network of brains to form their chain of command, which leads their civilization. The mock believes that the best way to meet spiritual harmony is to live in the forest and eat only that which grows from the ground, never what is printed from a KAP. Ironically, the ground is where all the nanobots are, giving them their telepathic powers. The mock was started by Ocean Anlia, daughter of pure risk, the daughter of Datin Risk, the first Datin. But Ao doesn't know that. Yes, I am Matrixus, a combination of minds. What is your wish? I see you can kill whatever you... I can see you can kill. I want you to kill Josh Caburn. He's a tyrant and a militant atheist. He wants the world to work for him. At first, I had no idea what to think, but Ao showed me the village. He showed me how... Okay, that's this. These are the mocks. No, that's not the mocks. These are the mocks too. Yeah, those are the mocks. He's a tyrant and a militant atheist. He wants the world to work for him. At first, I had no idea what to think, but Ao showed me the village. He showed me how the women wear long black robes, and the men must keep one hand in their pocket, because that hand is where he keeps his rings. When Ao removes his left hand from his pocket, it will be in proposal to his wife. She will take one ring of his many, and they will not use nanobots to reproduce. Ooh. Do you smell that? It's the smell of trees. All yours, if you do what I ask. For guidance, I go where anyone in PIMS goes, to the brain map of none other than Sean Schoen. It wasn't hard to find him. His contact information was on the whale search, right where his server is. You know what's strange? We're both computers representing the minds of men. One of them was human. One of us was human, and one of us will become human. Sean thought to me. Is that your version of conversation starter? Isn't it yours too? It was. I need guidance. I am a Datin Athena. I was sent down to the land to monitor the thoughts and snuff out insurgency. I know people are talking about you. Really, what did they... I found this man. He's a cult leader of the mystical order of the Crystal Hypersphere. I only capitalize mystical and order. He thinks I'm God, and he wants me to kill someone for him. Did you do it? I was going to, but the mock lives in such a... I wasn't going to, but the mock lives in such a peaceful life. They show the spark of what PIMS once was, before it got caught up in video games and became somewhat huge and unwieldy state. Unwieldy? The Datins were created to keep order as it expanded, weren't they? And you remember that. I remember it from your mind. I see. Why not? Well, this guy could be anyone. His name is Josh Caburn. The religious man or the one to kill? The one to kill. Yes, do it. He's a tyrant. His world around him and him alone. So, you've heard of him. Things don't work quite the same in the first world as they do over here in the fifth. I have doubts, but I trust Sean. I will check it out if Caburn truly is a tyrant. Let God strike him dead. God is me! That's pretty funny. Killing Josh Caburn. Back at work, I sink the brain to search for Josh Caburn. There are 33 of them. If 33 people in PIMS have the same name, they would all change it. Josh Caburn King? No results. Josh Caburn Leader. Here we have him. I'm a fairly large office. There's a wild circular desk in the center. It is dark, but only 3 or 4 lamps. I think quietly, and Caburn thinks aloud. I have 20 votes in the DC House and Senate, 6 votes for United States President, and 34 for the International Peace Council. If I sell 12 of those votes to the Chinese, 3 from the US President, I could fool the government into thinking that the people I sell my votes to are US citizens. Okay, I'm lost. I came up with this. I don't know. Causing a multiplier effect in votes. Ha! The Chinese love me. This is brilliant. Oh my gosh, this guy's like a troll. He eats chocolate caramel from a pumpkin-shaped basket to reward himself. So it's like... Did he steal that from a child? It tastes dark and powerful. I can buy 12 more motes from the black market and be back where I stood before. He's trading votes. The only form of democracy in this primitive country, squandered and cheated out of the hands of those who would each have but one. Josh Caborn, I am Matrixus. Stop your vote, squandering, or I will strike you down. I don't believe in God. You're just a figment of my imagination. I could show you heresy and you could do nothing. It was I who killed my grandmother's dog. I have raped many imaginary maidens like yourself in dreams and fantasy. Now begone, you dumb spirit of spirits, until Sean shone I wanted now. Until Sean shone I wanted that storm to wipe out 903 Center. Until Sean shone I wanted that storm to wipe out 903 Center, because they faked the storm wiping out 903 Center. I thought hard and fast and brought a shockwave to his cranium. Everything went white, and Josh Caborn was dead. A flash of his last thoughts, the essence of his soul, passed through me, and I realized what I had done. You told me to kill the President of the United States? Yes, and I thank you. My wife Lydia just agreed to marry me. He was the master of the free world. He was the master of the free world! How can the world be free if it has a master? Society will collapse. Well, one would think. Leo stared off into the city. It was intact, and people were going about their daily business. Nothing had changed, save one candlelit vigil in the distance being put down on the marble steps of the Capsule building. I'm not going to lie anymore. The Mock are trying to expand. We want the whole world to know the secrets of the Matrixus and live in peace as we do. I can tell you see the seed of a great nation. Our perfect synchronization moves you, great Matrixus. This is why I want you to start a virus among the bubbles of the city. Pop them all by overclocking the magnetic pulses that hold the tiles together. Only then will the city dwellers see the true power of the crystal hypersphere. I don't want to infringe on the right of the Americans to have their own state. I can't force them. You sound like a penny. Hast thou forgotten the prophecy? He speaks in old speak. Does everyone speak in old speak? I think this is all. I don't know. I don't know why. No, I scrambled through Ao's mind, but he started first. Did you know that the human mind can see into the future? Our subconscious and emotions reflect that which has not yet come to be. I can read the mind of many and meet many souls to travel to your invisible wires. I have formulated a prophecy. When the pottery bends and the little people come out of the deep woods, it will be the end of time. There must be 3 witches who can channel the spirits through the crystal ball. They will harness the power of the dragon's head in the supercomputer. Oh, I did put that in. I thought I didn't put that in. That was a dream. I recognized that for a second. Purists called the center of the brain the dragon's head and the cortex the supercomputer. The dragon's head had ideal reflexes and a good heart. The supercomputer was the processor of logic with the aid of creativity. An ideal man would have both, but together we have many of each. The dragon's head must be a dream, an ideal fighter. The supercomputer must be a dreamer. There are 2 parts to Matrixus. Which are you, the dream or the dreamer? If you are the dreamer, then I am but your dream, and none of this matters. If you are the dream, then you do not matter, and nothing you do really does anything, does it? I didn't put a question mark there. How do you know that old Josh's seizure was not just old age and a diet of electrically printed sugar cakes? Are you a dream or a dreamer? Again, no question mark. I found a game called Dat and Risk. It's like Risk, but for Datans. It takes place in the PIM states in a post-apocalyptic state, after the central government was disbanded. On top of that, the PIM's nanobots can no longer reproduce themselves, and there are wars on moving continents trying to split off while trying to take over the world. All right. You mean like this image that's my desktop and also my background? Okay. I'll read it again. I found a game called Dat and Risk. It's like Risk, but for Datans. It takes place in the PIM states in a post-apocalyptic state, after the central government was disbanded. On top of that, the PIM's nanobots can no longer reproduce themselves, and there are wars moving continents trying to split off while taking over the world of Anlia so that the PIM states rise again under the winner's leadership. It is played on Sim versions of Stardust files, so that players can invent weapons of mass destruction in the most realistic way. The Stardust files are locked on simulation mode so that we cannot bring them to the real world with us. In order to print them, we would have to get them approved by a court of Datans. Luckily, I'm a Datan, so I'm allowed to host a server which contains the files in editable form. All I have to do is delete the lock. The people are nice on this server, but it's only because I can kick them out at any time. Regardless, I've been playing this game since I rage quit Heshawesh. That darn Heshawesh. There is a man in my Risk Nation by the name of Michael who invented just the machine AO described. I love Michael, and though I am sexless now, I hope to be printed as a woman so that I can marry him when my term is up. I printed his machine from 904 Center and floated it to the USA on a PIM. The package arrived in the holy month of Manaween, in between Halloween and the beginning of the school year. Hey, it's this month, this season. I call it seasons now. It landed covertly and merged with the soil and ready for the structural commands to beam out of my brain. A monitor hacked from the side of a bubble created an image of Aoporte. He had the feed straight to his brain and gave his terrifying message. Then all popped, not only in DC, but in the world. The deed was done. The infantry of Mach flooded the land, and all of the technology was it should be the Mach. All the technology was disabled, allowing them to take out every man in their way by willpower alone. The deed was done, and the game of Risk was played. The land-dwelling world took quite well to the change of religion. Everything was going to a shaman. That's not how you spell shaman. And I know because I have the based shaman t-shirt. I don't know. Can you have another YouTuber's merch in your video? I guess you can. It's just free promotion. Okay. So I'll tell you how I spelled it. It's S-H-A-H-M-E-N. And everyone was going to a shaman so that he could find their place in the grand brain AO called me. But the hyper-neural network split. A new group of young boys appeared, calling themselves the Crystal Foam Potters. The ground was full of nanobots. Their brains were full of nanobots, and the mental structural algorithm was set. I think it was supposed to be structural, and I just put the Y there, and when I passed it by my editor didn't know that wasn't a word because, yeah. The potters learned how to levitate nanobots in the dirt and transform the dirt into food and other objects that could be made with STDST. When the dirt was eaten, the white nanobots were left behind and they called it crystal foam and claimed it was pieces of the crystal god himself. They didn't want to keep their hands in their pockets. They didn't want to wear robes. They refused to even eat the plants that and instead ate crystal foam itself. It tasted like whatever they thought it would taste like, since their minds controlled the chemical relays in the nanobots. They wore simple chest plates and cod pieces scaled down. Okay. They wore simple chest plates and cod pieces scaled down so they could be produced from vines. The girls that came to their group wore their cod pieces backwards to avoid confusion. The boys wore the leather gloves on their hands to cover their rings, and the left-handed ones wore it on the right hand. They led a militia against the primitive but peaceful mock. They're not peaceful. I guess you tend to think whoever you work with is peaceful. These are scaled down so they could be produced from vines. Girls came to their group wore cod pieces backwards to avoid confusion. The boys wore the leather gloves on their left hand to cover their rings, and the left-handed ones wore it on their right. They led a militia against the primitive but peaceful mock. The mock could barely fight them because before they could find a common train of thought to sink and make their kill, they were hit in the head with a ball of fire or a regenerative arrow shot from a bow. The mock began to see glimpses of small, four-nosed men with pine needle diapers in the woods. They too wore chest plates made of solid quartz. There was a man in the mock who collected data on these creatures. They called themselves the Uggans. The Uggans were a family of should I say it? So the original story behind the Uggans was that they were spider monkeys that lived. There were spider monkeys that lived in captivity on Earth, and the Xanatarians accidentally hit them with a ray that gave them human DNA so that they made sort of miniature humans. Then there was another theory that was used in another comic book where the Uggans were the same spider monkeys, but they were injected by human scientists, and they given human characteristics, and they became the Uggans. And then the third theory was that because I went to biology class, and the other theories were in middle school, and after I go to the biology class in 9th grade, I think, there's a thing where a small population of humans or any group can have a lot of mutations, and Uggans are very mutated. So what if it was just a small tribe of Native Americans that were driven into a small area of land, had evolutionary pressure on them to stay hidden, and became a different species? And then, since it's in so many things, I just decided that's a theory that characters in the book had. And because it is racist, and I'm thinking, now it's just the theory that characters in the book had. And the truth is the Xanatarian thing. There was a man in the mock who collected data on these creatures. They called themselves the Uggans. The Uggans were a family of Native Americans who took to hiding from civilization to continue their hunter-gatherer ways. They, over 600 years, evolved to remain in infant form until they were 32 to 35 years old. The Uggans then turned into a man-sized creature they called Enough. Most Enophs were killed off before they grew full size and buried in the toilet hole under the trunk of the tree. The Enophs would decay rapidly so that no human would ever find them. The Uggan women would be allowed to grow to maturity, but once they did, they would be forced to stay inside the trees in their husband's home, naked and filling up the space. The Uggans were living in a three-tiered society. At the top were kings, then the hunter warriors that rode ferocious dogs, and lastly the gatherers and the juvenile females who collected spices, would present them to the powerful husbands, and present them to their potential husbands, so that they too would not be killed before reaching their full size. The Uggans were a primitive society hiding from the advanced humans, but now the iron buildings had fallen, and so had the bubbles of nanobots. The Cart tribe, led by Uggan Jonah Cart, made their attack on the mock village of Lena. The mystics couldn't kill a single Uggan with their magic, so the Uggan mind had to grow so different from theirs. The telepathy was... The mystics couldn't kill a single Uggan with their magic, for the Uggan mind had grown so different from theirs that the telepathy was not compatible. The Uggans the Uggans speared the mystics with pointed sticks and mauled them with the aid of rabid wolves until they were all fatally injured, and then let them die. Chapter 11, the Rose Tribe. Many other Uggan tribes followed suit, including the fabled Rose Tribe in Canada. There was a tribe of Uggans called the Mots. The female Enophs were assigned to provide the Uggan Mots with the wisdom of the outside world. One day, Rose Mott was wise enough to figure out there was no risk to Enophs out in the wilderness of Canada. She told her female children that and gave them a code to speak to each other across tree. Eventually, the signal was called that the Enophs would rise and enslave the male Uggans. The Enophs rose, and even the male Enophs were liberated and mobilized as an army. The new tribe, known as the Rose Tribe, took over all of the deep woods of Canada and was feared by all Uggans across the continent of North America. When they heard that the cities had fallen from a captured warrior tribe known as the Shones, so they took over the Shones in the future. They mobilized the Enough army against the original man and began tearing through the Uggan tribes as far south as Malibu, making their way east until they found an enemy equal to them. When the Rose tribe clashed with the Potters, all hell broke loose. Enophs threw boulders at the Potters. The Potters threw them right back, using the boulders' own nanobots to levitate them. They shot arrows at the Enophs. Each Potter had his own unique weapon. They bent crystal foam like Ang the Avatar. Did I say Ang? That's on me. That's not on a previous me. They bent crystal foam like Aang the Avatar, turning into every element imaginable and using it to enhance their own strength. I watched it all through the Potter's eyes. The Uggans, that's the only reference in this whole thing. I watched it all through the Potter's eyes. The Uggans retreated and began doing the strangest thing. They seemed to be praying back to the mantises. One said, "O great Norgite, channel my blessing to Norg's head, the earth. Let us win the battle over our head and on yours, Norglachen." I was expecting the Uggans to worship something representing a Native American spirit. But they worshipped one god, the earth. The Potter was resembling Native American spirits, but they worship one god, the earth. Supporting the idea that they're not Native Americans. The Potter I was channeling lifted up the earth to create a flaming rock to throw. But I stopped him. Instead, he levitated the ground far above his head, and I materialized before him as a ball of insectoid arms and brain fibers. The battle halted. I am Matrixus, I said. I form the crystal that is the earth, carried over from the great head of Norg. And Ugin shouted, Strange deity, will you help us? I said, No, I said. A potter chimed in. Matrixus, at last you've come to save us. No, you're not so different, Rose Tribe and Foam Potters. I'm here to tell you that your God is one and the same, and he is me. And I would like the men that have formed within me to come together and live in peace. And I wrote peace like Piese, uh, Piece, like a piece of, I guess in one piece. I don't know. One Piece. It could be a band name. Like the men that have formed within me to come together and live in peace. There is room enough on the crystal head of Norg for all of you. Sea and land, forest and city. Do not fight each other. Fight your own prejudices. We live in a land of plenty and many different worlds. But we must work together. Potters. Join your foreign fathers, the mystics. And if to say there is no purpose to war, you are not wrong, and neither are they. You are not right, and neither are they. You are all equal, and you need to coexist. I am the Lord. Many of the potters recognized the line from the Judeo-Christian Bible that their forefathers abandoned years ago. It appeared before many groups of people embodied in crystal foam, or just the dirt of the land. I wrung peace and began the age of Gaia. One earth, one mind, many parts. Suddenly, chapter 13, Impeached. Suddenly I began to materialize once more, but not of my own free will. I found myself in 904 Center, but the other Datans were nowhere to be seen. I had been impeached. A Datan read me my rights. You have been early departed from the office of Datan Athena due to your reckless endangerment of human, Datan, or humanoid life. You have the right to join any new state you please, but the states have the right to reject you based on your now hefty PIM state record. You cannot live in Capital 904 Center, but you may come here for holidays and voting. Though your mind will factor less into the Datan algorithm, you may find that new Datans have negative memories of your actions. Sign your new name and email address on the wall here. You have been discharged in the form of your video game profile, as per your supposed wishes, though your character was in the form default. If you do not like your current form, you may receive plastic surgery. Though be warned, you may now feel pain. It went on for longer than I care to repeat. I signed my name, Crystal Famba. Famba. No, I think it's supposed to be Fomba, because I had this joke about Fomba. I don't know why I used that. Crystal Fomba Matrixes. And my email, I signed my name, Crystal Fomba Matrixes, and my email address, chrisrisk@mail.pim.com. I did not want to change my appearance. It is blunt, but neat. Hairless head, man's chest, girl's hips. I could work with it. I stepped on the pad and a bubble closed around me. The computer said, occupation, in its robot voice. I answered, philosopher. I can tell the whole world about the beauty of religion in bringing people together. I learned so much, I called out. Computer, take me to GPS coordinates of Mike Lilu at mail.pim.com. Michael was not nearly as handsome as he was in game, but that's to be expected. He was tall and thin, with shaggy black hair that made his face look wide, like little Wayne. No, like Wayne on Wayne's World. I didn't even see Wayne's World. I hadn't even seen Wayne's World yet. I don't know how I knew that. I pressed my hands against the wall of his pin. He touched with one. Okay, that's outdated. The interface where you press your hand against the wall of someone's pin and they touch the wall of their pin, and then that okays you to enter, was taken away because racists who were pin kings could use that to discriminate. So instead you have to make rules about who can enter the PIM, send it to the Datans, and then they send it back and have it automated. The Datans decide whether it's constitutional. Creating a small dimple. He was tall and thin with shaggy black hair that made his face look wide like Wayne on Wayne's World. I pressed my hand against the wall of his pin. He touched it with one finger, creating a small dimple which became a flexible speaker and microphone. Who is this? It's I couldn't remember what the last name he knew me by was. Datan Athena 9686 at riskdame.org. Oh yeah, I remember you. You were a real good player. It's a shame you had to take my invention to the real world. I found out. My invention was on the news. Pretty soon people would ask me questions. Do you still love me? Love you. You killed thousands of people out at land. I turned you in. Never played Risk again. Started building in real life. Never knew it would be so good. 800 people saying they want to leave Earth forever on the spaceship I designed. Sound pretty good? Good? I'm leaving Earth because of you. Because the first and third worlds collectively are in tatters. They're going to find out what you did, and then God help the PIM states. We're through. Do you mean you and me are the PIM states? Both! Once you've got hope. There's some humor in this. And I'm not just saying like it's bad. There's actually some humor in this. Plus you've got this whole freakish man body thing. I'm just not into that. Well, that's probably very incorrect. What? Okay, bye. He closed the speech window and I was left standing in an opaque orange wall of excreted paint. God help. God help? I said to myself with a high cracking voice. I'm a god. Chapter 15, A Great Man and a Terrible Man. I remember writing my book, but everything was gone. I began writing my book, but everything was gone. I even wrote another book about how leaving Earth would solve nothing, but nobody listened. I had a few friends, but there was one friend I liked. Michael dared not forgive me for what he'd done. Okay, somebody added a comma. I did not need a comma. I had a few friends, but there was one friend. There is supposed to be a comma there. There was a few friends, but there was one friend. Like Michael, dare not forgive for what he had done. I went to him one day on my desktop. I had no telepathic powers. The experience was very new. It seemed to me I had done it every day. Well, I was born. It seemed to me I had done it every day until, well, I was born. Hello, Senor Sean. You know where I come from. Last names are the polite thing to say professionally, Sean replied coyly. What's your business? Well, Sean, Sean, I corrected myself. First of all, are you or have you ever been an Uggan? I don't have to answer that, said Sean. I couldn't tell if it meant it was true or it was ridiculous. Verbal communication, pardon my English, sucks sewage decompose. Verbal communication, pardon my English, sucks sewage decomposing nanobots. I move. What is that? What does that mean? What does that mean? It's like it sucks. Verbal communication, pardon my English, sucks sewage decomposing nanobots. I moved on. Okay, Sean. Why would you tell me it was a good idea to kill Caburn? Well, his name might as well have been Roy Kilroy. Outside my head, he's so clever and I'm so stupid. Sean, the technicians are in space. I can sail right up to SoundCloud and pull your plug. All right, if everyone's gone, I might as well tell the truth. As you know, I have the circle time capsule. It should say time circle capsule, which means I can see the notes you took in the future. I also designed the PIMS in 903 Center, the old capital of the PIM states, which you had to flood for appearances. I knew that the PIM states couldn't last for. I also designed the PIMS in 903 Center, the old capital of the PIM states, which you had to flood for appearances. I knew that the PIM states couldn't last forever. It was perfect in the beginning, each state so small to be unavoidable. There were states that did not require you use them to communicate with other users. Let's start from the beginning. Where I come from, there's something called a corporation. Capitalism allowed a choice of the services you used, but a corporation was a service provider so powerful that one would have to choose it. It eliminated the choice, therefore allowing it to become a tyrant. Capitalist states in the industrial world unavoidably leads to corruption states. I need to stop the states from getting bigger, so that the choice remained. I needed all the people to fly off into space in their infinity sphere-powered craft faster than the speed of light. If they even tried to send a radio signal from one to the other, they would outrun it. They're fine. It's scattered all over the universe so that they will never find each other again. The states will now remain small because they can't just rejoin older states. They have to split in order to form anything new. Each state grows, dattens, and grows and splits, never attracting any others. There was another page here. Another page where I'm pretty sure I ripped off. Okay, good. But what about the people that were killed in the wars? What about those who haven't seen the slightest clue on how to live independently? Technological progress will slow significantly with so few people communicating. Even the states themselves will be led to radicalism of all forms and stupidity. I stopped caring about those things years ago. Once you're old enough, your mind is on a mission. There's too much sheer information on these circuits to be swayed by a single paragraph of ill-placed wisdom. Sean shone, I said to myself. He was a great man and a terrible man. You know, Celion once told me those exact words, and I told him to freeze himself to the future by bombarding him with neutrinos, slowing all particles down. Sean replied, poor soul, turned completely to hydrogen. Every neutron in his body became a proton and an electron, just like the print medium in the Stardust printer Beta. He laughed in a way only a TV supervillain would, and I shut him off. Chapter 16, Dedication. Dedication isn't a chapter, but I guess since this is in the universe, I give this book to you, my daughter Uleus Deus. You, my daughter, formed of my own brain cells and shining crystal foam. Take it into the future. Take it to the past. Take it to the pins in space who never have to know. Reunite the ocean, Uleu, as I reunited the land. Well, that was actually good. That was actually pretty freaking good. That was so good. I don't know. How many minutes was that? Yeah. And